In 1838, Cherokee mothers marched 1,000 miles on the Trail of Tears. They made bean bread from corn and beans, boiled over campfires on the side of the road. That meal is number 9 on this list. Number 3 is a plant that will kill you if you cook it wrong. Number 1 has fed Appalachia for 300 years. These 15 meals were not chosen. They were necessary. Hit subscribe because this might change how you think about mountain food. Let us count down 15 hillbilly suppers mountain families survived on for generations. 15. Cornbread and milk crumble. Cold leftover cornbread into a tall glass. Pour cold buttermilk over it until the bread is mostly submerged. Eat with a spoon. That was it. No cooking. Cornmeal cost 3 to 4 cents a pound. If you kept a cow, buttermilk cost nothing. This was the cheapest possible meal in the American mountains. It required no cooking, no stove, and no energy. Miners came home from the coalface covered in black dust and crumbled cornbread into milk because their wives had nothing more to offer. A grandfather who had a house and a job and a refrigerator full of food still crumbled cornbread into buttermilk every Sunday night. Some suppers are not about hunger. They are about remembering. 14. Sorghum and biscuits. Hot biscuits split open, slathered with butter, swimming in sorghum molasses. The butter melts into the sorghum and creates a sweet, sticky, golden sauce that soaks into the bread. Sorghum cane came to Appalachia in the mid-1800s from Africa. It grew in poor soil where sugarcane could not survive. It became the poor mountain family's only sweetener because refined sugar never made it up the hollows. Every fall, a mule turned the press at the community sorghum mill, and families boiled the juice down into thick amber syrup. Children remembered sorghum on a hot biscuit as the finest treat of their childhood. Not because they did not know about chocolate, because they could not afford it. 13. Tomato gravy. Over biscuits, heat bacon grease in a cast iron skillet. Stir in flour. Add chopped canned tomatoes. Stir until the gravy thickens. Season with salt, pepper, and a pinch of sugar to cut the acid. Spoon hot over split biscuits. Under 5 cents for a pot of gravy that covered a pan of biscuits. Tomato gravy existed because mountain families often had no meat for gravy. No sausage, no bacon, nothing. But they had canned tomatoes on the shelf and bacon grease in the coffee can on the stove. Tomato gravy was what you made when you could not make the real thing. But to the children who ate it, it was the real thing. It was the only gravy they knew. Modern science tells us that heating tomatoes in fat increases lycopene absorption by up to 50%. Mountain grandmothers were optimizing nutrition a century before anyone gave it a name. 12. Cracklin' bread. White cornmeal. No flour, no sugar. Mixed with buttermilk, an egg, salt, and a cup of chopped pork cracklings. Poured into a screaming hot cast iron skillet greased with lard. Baked at 425 until golden. The cracklings were the crispy bits left after rendering lard on hog killing day. Cracklings are 50% fat and 40% protein. Pure, concentrated energy. Hog killing day was the most important day of the mountain year. The whole community turned out. And the men butchered, and the women rendered lard in a big iron wash pot over an open fire. As the fat melted down and the cracklings floated to the surface, somebody was already making cracklin' bread. It was the first meal of the new season, proof the family would eat through winter. 11. Cornmeal. Mush cornmeal stirred slowly into boiling salted water. Cooked for 20 to 30 minutes until thick and smooth. Served hot with butter or sorghum. The next day, the leftover mush was poured into a loaf pan, set overnight, sliced, and fried in lard until golden and crispy on both sides. 2 meals from one ingredient. Today, Italian restaurants sell the same thing. They call it polenta and charge $16 a plate. Cornmeal at 3 to 4 cents a pound, under 5 cents for a family supper. Some families ate cornmeal mush for every meal for weeks. A mother who did that was not cooking. She was counting, making sure the cornmeal lasted until the garden came in or the husband found work. Here is something most Americans do not understand. Appalachian families did not choose these meals from a list. They ate what the mountain gave them. Corn grew where wheat would not. Beans grew up the corn stalks. Hogs ate what people could not. Sorghum grew in poor soil. The mountain decided the menu. The food was not simple because the people were simple. The food was simple because the mountain left no room for anything else. 10. Fried pies soak dried apples overnight. Dried apples overnight. Cook with sugar, cinnamon, and nutmeg until thick and jammy. Roll out pie dough into circles, spoon filling onto 1/2. Fold over. Crimp with a fork. Fry in hot lard until golden brown on both sides. Apples grew wild or in the family orchard. Drying them cost nothing but time and sun. Under 10 cents for a batch that fed the family. In the fall, the whole family sat on the porch and peeled and sliced apples while the children played in the yard. The slices went onto wooden racks or string lines and dried in the mountain air for days. Months later, a grandmother soaked those dried apples overnight and fried pies for supper. The fried pie in January was the apple from September, preserved by sunlight and patience. Appalachian general stores sold fried pies wrapped in wax paper for a penny each. Children walked to school with one in their pocket. The whole mountain year was in that pie. 9. Cherokee bean bread. Dried corn soaked in hickory ash water to remove the hulls. Ground into meal. Mixed with cooked mashed beans. Shaped into fist-sized dumplings. Wrapped tightly in dried corn husks. Boiled in water for an hour. The Cherokee perfected this food thousands of years before nutritionists understood why it worked. The nixtamalization of corn releases niacin and prevents pellagra. Corn and beans together provide complete protein. On the Trail of Tears. In 1838, mothers made bean bread from whatever corn and beans they could carry. They fed it to their children on the side of the road while walking toward a place they had never chosen to go. Bean bread kept people alive on the worst journey in American history. Today, the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians in North Carolina still makes bean bread for community gatherings. The same recipe, the same corn husks, the same boiling water. That is not a recipe. That is a lifeline. 8. Killed lettuce. Pick fresh leaf lettuce from the garden. Tear into a big bowl. Slice green onions over the top. Fry bacon until crispy. To the hot grease, add a splash of apple cider vinegar. It sizzles and steams. Pour the hot dressing over the lettuce. The heat kills the greens, wilts them instantly. The vinegar hisses and the kitchen fills with steam. Top with crumbled bacon. This was a spring dish, made when the first lettuce came up after months of dried, canned, and salted everything. Killed lettuce was the mountain family's first fresh food of the year. A grandmother walks to the garden in April, picks the first lettuce, carries it inside, and fries bacon. For 5 months, she's been opening jars. Today, she is eating something alive. Killed lettuce is the taste of winter ending. The first green thing on the table after months of brown. 7. Possum and sweet potatoes. Parboil the cleaned possum in salted water for an hour. Place in a roasting pan with quartered sweet potatoes and sliced onion. Lay bacon strips over the top. Roast at 350 for 2 to 3 hours until the meat falls off the bone and the sweet potatoes caramelize in the rendered fat. The possum was free. The sweet potatoes from the garden. You went out after dark with a dog, a lantern, and a burlap sack. Nobody ever bragged about eating possum, but nobody went hungry on a night the dog treed one. In 1909, President Taft was served a possum dinner in Atlanta. It was considered an honor. Then the cities laughed, and possum retreated to the mountains where it had always been eaten without embarrassment. The meat is dark and rich, somewhere between pork and duck. A family that ate possum was a family that knew how to use the woods. The dog knew it. The lantern knew it. The mountain provided, and you did not turn it down. 6. Fried ramps and potatoes. Fry bacon. In the hot grease, fry diced potatoes until golden. Add sliced ramp bulbs for the last 5 minutes, green tops in the final minute. Season with salt and pepper. Crumble the bacon over the top. Serve hot with cornbread and a bowl of pinto beans on the side. Ramps are wild leeks, one of the very first edible plants to push through the last snow. The Cherokee harvested them as a spring tonic. Ramp season lasts about 3 weeks. That is it. A grandfather who digs ramps every spring is following a path his father walked. Knowing where the ramps grow is knowledge that gets passed down like a name, quietly, to the people who deserve it. That when a grandmother shows a grandchild where the ramps grow, she is not sharing a recipe. She is sharing a map, and that map is older than the road to town. Here is what the food industry will never understand about mountain cooking. These families needed corn, beans, a hog, a garden, and the knowledge to turn those things into a year of eating. That knowledge was the real wealth of Appalachia. Not the coal, not the timber. The knowledge that a dried apple becomes a fried pie, that a poisonous weed becomes supper if you boil it 3 times, that a squirrel and a cup of flour feed a family. That knowledge is dying with every grandmother who passes. No cookbook can replace it. You had to be in the kitchen. You had to watch the hands. 5. Dried apple stack. Cake 6 to 8 thin cake layers made from a stiff dough of flour, sorghum, spices, and lard, baked individually in a cast iron skillet, stacked with thick spice-dried apple filling between each layer. Then the whole cake sits for 2 to 3 days. The apple filling slowly softens the cookie-like layers, creating a texture unlike any other cake. At an Appalachian wedding, you did not bring a gift. You brought a layer. Each guest baked one at home and carried it to the bride's family. They stacked the layers with apple butter as guests arrived. A stack cake with 12 layers meant 12 people cared enough to bake. The more layers, the more the bride was loved. A thin cake meant few friends. A tall cake meant the whole hollow showed up. It was not a cake. It was a census of love. Today, dried apple stack cake is the official state dessert of no state at all. It belongs to Appalachia, and Appalachia does not have a state dessert commission. It has grandmothers. 4. Squirrel and dumplings. Quartered squirrels simmered in a large pot for 2 to 3 hours until the meat was falling off the bone. Pick the meat from the bones. Return to the rich broth. Drop spoonfuls of dumpling dough into the simmering liquid. Cover and cook 15 to 20 minutes without lifting the lid. The protein came from the woods. The carbohydrates came from the pantry. The flour and lard came from the cupboard. The skill came from generations. Squirrel hunting was how a boy became useful. At 10 or 11, you were given a rifle and sent into the woods. You sat under a hickory tree and learned patience. When you brought home 2 squirrels, your mother made dumplings. She did not praise you. She just cooked them. That was the praise. You had provided. The dumplings proved it. The broth was dark and rich, tasting of hickory and wild game. The dumplings swelled up fat and tender. A pot fed a family for 2 meals and cost nothing but the bullet and the flour. 3. Poke salad. Pokeweed is toxic if prepared incorrectly. Harvest only the young shoots in early spring. Boil in a full pot of water for 20 minutes. Drain completely and discard the water. Boil again in fresh water. Drain again. Boil a 3rd time. 3 full boilings to remove the poison. Then fry the greens in bacon grease with scrambled eggs. Serve with cornbread. The triple boil method was traditional knowledge passed from mother to daughter. Skip a boil and you poisoned your family. Poke salad was one of the first greens to appear in spring, often weeks before the garden produced. It was free, and growing wild along fence rows and creek banks. Mountain mothers knew exactly when the shoots were young enough to pick, and exactly how many times to boil them. That knowledge was an inheritance worth more than the deed to the land, and the price of forgetting it was paid in hospital beds. In Harlan County, Kentucky, they held an annual Poke Salad Festival for decades. It was a celebration of the fact that mountain people could take a poisonous plant and make it into supper. That is not ignorance. That is mastery. 2. Leather breeches. Pick green beans at their peak. Thread a needle with heavy string. Pierce each bean through the center and slide it down, making a long garland. Hang the bean strings from the porch rafters. Dry for 2 to 3 weeks until brown, shriveled, and leathery. In winter, break the dried beans into pieces. Soak overnight, then simmer for 2 to 3 hours with a ham hock until tender. Drying concentrates the flavor into something rich, earthy, and almost beefy that fresh beans cannot match. A family's leather breeches hanging from the porch told the story of their summer. Good summer, many strings. Bad summer, few. Each single bean on the string was a meal in January. Each string on the rafter was a week of eating in February. When the last string came down in March, you prayed the garden would come in soon. Leather breeches were the distance between harvest and hunger, measured in dried beans on a thread. The name came from the way the dried beans looked, wrinkled and brown like old leather pants. Nobody in Appalachia thought the name was funny. It was just what you called them. 1. Soup beans and cornbread. A pound of dried pinto beans, sorted and rinsed. A ham hock, water, salt, pepper. Simmered for 3 to 4 hours until the beans are tender and surrounded by a thick, silky brown broth. The ham hock dissolves into the liquid, making it rich, smoky, and velvety. For the cornbread, white cornmeal, buttermilk, 1 egg, salt, lard. No sugar, no flour. Poured into a smoking hot cast iron skillet greased with bacon drippings. Baked until the bottom is deeply golden and crispy. Ladle the beans into a bowl. Crumble cornbread over the top. Put raw onion slices on the table. That is the meal. A pound of pintos cost 5 to 7 cents during the Depression. The entire supper cost under 20 cents. Corn and beans together provide complete protein. Mountain families who ate this every night were eating one of the most balanced meals in America without knowing it. Soup beans and cornbread is not a meal, it is an identity. When someone dies in Appalachia, you bring soup beans. When a baby is born, you bring soup beans. When the mine closes, you make soup beans because a pound of dried pintos and a piece of fatback will feed your family for 2 days. 300 years of mountain families have sat down to this exact supper. It is the single thread that connects every generation. A grandmother making soup beans is not cooking dinner. She is performing a ritual older than the state she lives in, doing it exactly the way her grandmother did it, all the way back to a time when these mountains had no roads, and the only food was what you grew, what you killed, and what you carried up from the creek. Make one of these this week. Just one. The soup beans and cornbread, the tomato gravy and biscuits, the fried mush with sorghum. Buy the ingredients for $1 and cook something that kept mountain families alive for generations. Sit down at the table, set a place, eat it slow. Tell me in the comments which one you are going to try. I want to know if the soup beans get more love than the fried pies. I want to know if anyone still strings leather breeches on the porch. I want to know if these suppers still live in someone's kitchen. Because these were not just hillbilly suppers. They were 15 ways a mountain family looked at what the land gave them and said, "This is enough." That is not poverty. That is knowing.